who is here, how long they stay. We also capture the folks that are on YouTube. And we are able to use that time as a match for federal funds that we do spend on our fan pools. So Amanda Luker is also here this morning. She is our program manager through ADEQ, who funds the TRP. As a first order of business, we want to introduce some of our newest TRP members. We have a new roster and some returning folks. The new TRP task force is made up of 10 companies. Companies can also be utilities and different types of industry participants. And it also is inclusive of our jurisdictions. So we have Town of Marana, Town of Sahuarita, Oro Valley, Pima County, and City of Tucson, as well as the nation and the tribe. For our purposes, we have the 5 jurisdictions. So I saw that Karen is here from Pima County. Karen is a veteran TRP, very knowledgeable of all the things that the program does. I know that City of Tucson, she was unable to attend today. I haven't seen a substitution, and I know that Maureen from Town of Marana is on Zoom, but had a staffing situation this morning. Other than that, let's see who else is in here. Oh, great. We have Raytheon. I'm glad to see you. Is it Alicia? We have Amazon here. Bonnie is part of it. And we have Josephine from our institutionalized folks. So we have a nice mix of individuals that are participating as part of our roster of task force members. Just so that you have an idea, we have Banner University, we have Josephine that I mentioned from Bureau of Prisons, Marie Gonzalez is Freeport-McMoRan, Becky Eagley is Hexagon Mining. They're actually right out the back door of our PAG offices. You want to get to know Becky. She has the secret sauce. She always has great response rates, and her people do exactly what she asks them to do. Nick Trees is with La Frontera. Kathy Chavez is M3 Engineering. Renee from Pima Community College. Alicia from Raytheon. Teresa Bravo, I saw that you were on also at TEP, which we're all grateful for today because we want our electricity to make our air conditionings operate. Frank Sanchez, University of Arizona. Josue Lucia from City of South Tucson. Monica Landgrave Serrano from City of Tucson. Carla Silva, Pima County. That is actually Karen Wilhelmsen now. Matt Jankowski from Oro Valley, and Jessica Silva from Town of Sahuarita. So that is our new 2024-2026 roster of TRP representatives. And as part of that, we want to help everybody understand both those that are long-term members and those that are joining. What are the responsibilities of the task force? Well, this task force is required. We meet twice a year. Amanda Luker, who is on this call today, we have a contract with ADEQ, and it has deliverables as part of that agreement. And the task force comes together to share information. In many ways, it's one-way information in that we're providing statistics and updates for all of you. And we also have a task force viewer. So in terms of knowing what all the different employer sites, how well they're doing in terms of their response rates and being able to meet those TRO goals. In terms of voting or anything like that, the task force can have a conversation about what to do with our non-compliant employer sites, but PAG takes the position that we are not an enforcement agency. So I would say in the last 6 years, what we really are trying to do is help people stay compliant. So we can turn ourselves inside out, provide extensions. The idea is really to help people understand what the benefits of this program are. The benefits of the program are to help understand how we protect our air quality, to reduce emissions and congestion in our region. We also collect data from the annual TRP survey. All of you who have participated in one way or another in executing your annual TRP employee survey. Also, recently, we just wrapped up the air survey, making sure that those two deliverables are absolutely completed. And we work with individuals and the companies that have a lot of turnover, or somebody is on leave, or the contacts get changed. Because what we really want to do is make sure that people are sending information and helping their staff understand why this program is in place. So one of the things that I'd like to point out, because we can go over it and I can show you where it is, and I'm going to share my screen. Oh, Bree, can you let me share? Thank you. She's the magician behind the curtain. So PAG has had a website update. Can you give me a shout out that you can see the PAG website?
Yes, we
Sure
can.
can.
Yes.
All right, excellent. So if you were to visit, if you do one thing today that is a byproduct of you attending here today, is visit the PAG website so that you know where resources exist. And also, when you go to that website, it's going to pop up that if you live in our region, you can take the RMAP quiz. It's a survey, and it allows you to provide some information about transportation planning in our region. We have a big push going on right now for that. It allows you to have a voice in terms of what you think is important as we develop RTA Next. All right, so one thing to know is if you hover over what we do and you go to travel reduction, that's the easiest way to get to the information that is important for us. And then if you go to employer resources, or if you want to see how people did per month for their survey, and then the annual report from last year. So TRP employer resources, this is the place that we are. We will talk about it a little bit later when Brad is talking about collateral. But this one right here, the travel reduction program overview, that's probably the most used document that we share with our transportation coordinators, because it gives you a 2-pager summary of what is required. So if we open that up, let's see if my screen changes. Maybe not. There we go. So do all of you see a travel reduction program overview? Did it switch?
Looks like it was thinking. You see the list.
I'm going to stop and share again. There we go. Now you should see the travel reduction program overview.
Okay.
Yep.
There it is.
If ever any of you as TCs or have to explain or provide information, this is one of our best ones, because it gives you a link both to the Pima County and City of Tucson ordinance. It helps explain why we do this. So the program exists because of the Clean Air Act. And many of you have heard me say before, I applaud those that wrote the legislation, because it is solid and it provides that it doesn't matter who's in office, that it cannot be wiped away. The TRP is considered, and we love our acronyms, a TCM, transportation control measure. So all the things that are in place that support this program allow us to continue as the champions that say it's important to protect our air quality. So there are many reasons, and I'm going to let Brad touch on those because that's part of the collateral that we're going to speak about. There's many reasons why this is important. It can be because people need to understand alt modes. It's hard to get excited about something they don't understand and what their choices are. They need to be educated as to how do I get involved in a van pool and why would I? They need to understand that right now we have fare-free transit. Transit is a way for people to move about the region and learn how to ride the bus and be able to share that information with their friends and family who all may also need paratransit or dial-a-ride services. So if one has never experienced those things and they can't get information, then it helps for us to share those messages so that they can be curious and know more. So in terms of the travel reduction ordinance and what we hold our employers responsible for, it's assigning TCs, which is all of you who are here, sharing information with employees, and what that can look like is an intranet post. It can be emails, it can be messages, bulletin boards, however you communicate with your workforce population. And then the two activities that we get really involved in, and that's where you get lots of emails from us and phone calls, is we want you to do the activity inventory report, which is every April, May time period where we have to update information and be able to find out what is happening at every employer site. And then we also do the TRP annual employee survey, which is where you ask those 10 questions of every staff member, or in the instance, in a post-COVID world, that's where we have the remote work employer site status, where if 40% or greater of your workforce population is working remotely or in a hybrid model, we have a different process, which is incredibly easy and online, that we have come up with that affords you to be able to answer a few questions, verify some information, and then we are able to use 100% of your employees based on what their number of days in the office. Could be 1 day in the office, could be 3 days in the office, could be that they work from home 5 days in the office, and you have 10 people who work at the headquarters. So we work with you on that if you're a unique situation. We currently have 18 RWEs out of 161 sites. So it is industry specific. There are many employers where you have to be boots on the ground, you have to be present. There is a select number of industries where the RWE status is an option. So, and I know, Tom, you and I exchanged emails. We can talk more about that as well. Because Intuit is
Looking forward to it.
Yes, it'll make your life easier for sure. And then we have outreach contacts. We have Thomas Robertson who has joined us. Happy about that. It's always great when you have someone to bounce ideas off of and to share the load. And then we have our webpage and also the Sun Rideshare webpage. And then on the second page of this informational flyer, there are all the things that we explain in terms of the 10-question survey, the data we collect and what we use it for, that we really like to see high response rates. We ask for a 50% response rate because that allows for the data to be statistically significant. Also, when we look at different levels of performance, it's bronze through gold. And lastly, a little bit of history that this program's been in place since 2000. And then we show you the heat maps that show up on the monthly reports that we send out. So another statistic to share, especially for those that are new, is for many years, the TRP operated from how many sites in terms of how many employers we have in our region. Let's stop sharing for now. And with that, it's interesting to look at some of the little details about our program. So we have currently 161 employer sites. That doesn't mean that we have 161 addresses. It means that last year, one of the innovative things that we did is we went to a multi-site model for those where it made sense. So for example, when I have Amphi School District that's quite large, or we have Sunnyside School District, or we have Fry's Food Stores or Target stores, you have one employer, but you have multiple sites. So we went through a transition where we went from 256 employer sites to 161. The incredible change in doing that was we went from 130-ish thousand employees to where now we are 149,832 employees in the TRP. So even though it looked like we were condensing, we were actually expanding. So in order to allow those different sites to also have less administrative burden, because I'm going to use Fry's, they have 17 locations. That meant that that TC had 17 passwords, 17 reports at the end of the month. It was a bit burdensome to manage. So now that TC has one password and they're able to view what the performance is for all of their sites by clicking on what we call the TRP tracker, which some of you have seen if you have surveyed already this year, where you can just click on there, enter your email address and your company code, password, and you're able to see where you are. So if you wanted to check on what your response rate was at 2 in the morning, you certainly can. The other point I wanted to share with you is that of the top 15 employers that are in our region, the top 15 account for 59.3% of all employees in our total program. And we have some of you who are here today. So Pima County, Raytheon, and Alicia, you'd have to tell me, does Raytheon still go by Raytheon or are you using a different merged name?
We've come full circle and we're back to Raytheon.
Excellent. Okay. So we know that there are some major employers in our region. U of A is obviously quite large and they have hybrid and work from home models. I know Alicia has 3 sites and it's a combination of what's going on at Raytheon. We have Banner University Medical, which is massive and has multiple addresses. In fact, when we update all their addresses, it's quite the list. Also, when we think about our school districts, Sunnyside School District, Tucson Unified School District, they're huge. They're very, very large employers. So as we focus on what's important, where are employers, what do we need each TC to do, we do absolutely recognize that you have a very specific lifestyle, culture, corporate culture, operational ways of doing things. We want to work with each of you to make it fit where you are. I see Canyon Ranch is also on here. You know, that service level, that way of operating, because you have guests, is going to be very different than production, where I see Bonnie Holly is on our call, and that's Amazon. You know, there are many of us on this call that probably support Amazon. And if you don't, that's your choice, but I know I do. What they are held to, the standards that they have, the metrics that they are living by every day, can be quite different. So it gives a different tempo to the way you have to work through your leadership and also engage with your workforce. So talk to us. We want to be able to work with you so we can get these 4 things for our employers that are required. We can get those done, and we can get creative sometimes. It just takes communication and being able to have a conversation about this works for us, this doesn't, and we'll come up with some ideas that make it functional for you. I mean, Lord knows this has been going on for over 23 years. So, you know, every day is a new day and we can come up with new things, and we have. The RWE status was something that came out of the post-COVID way of operating. The merged sites was also something that we decided was gonna work better for us. And by doing that, we've improved the data collection, we've improved the quality of that data, because if we have specific addresses, we have better information to calculate vehicle miles traveled. And we report all of the metrics that we collect up to ADEQ every month and every year. The other statistic I wanted to share with you is that each year we have a calculation that our air quality manager and our modeling team creates. And it's, since you're part of the task force, you should know that we have what is a miles per pound. So miles per pound in our region currently is 101.2. So the 101.2 is as reported when they ran the moves model last year. And it's the highest I've ever seen it jump. So the year before, they went from 80 miles per pound to 101.2 miles per pound, that's historic. And what that speaks to is that our actual vehicle producers are coming up with more efficient engines, even whether they run on gas or EV vehicles, and being able to make the emissions from the vehicles that are being driven, that are registered through the MVD, have they are less harmful to our air quality. So it will be interesting. We generally get this information July, August. So they will run the moves model again this year to see where we are between 101.2 and where it goes from there. So that's a lot of information. Do we have any questions? Hands up for anyone. Seeing none, we will move on to Thomas. Thomas is going to give you a summary of his findings for the air survey this year, which I'm very happy to report we had the greatest response we beat last year in terms of total numbers. And with that, I will turn it over to Thomas.
Good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure to be speaking to y'all today. If I could also kindly have the ability to share my screen. Perfect. Let's see. Wonderful. And let's get this in full screen for everyone. Perfect. Can everyone see this okay? If I could kindly have a quick little confirmation.
Yes.
Wonderful. So today we'll be talking about the air survey results for 2024. This is just a quick report created to show the basics of it, and I'll dive deeper into the numbers over the past 10 years in a moment. If you have any questions during it, please feel free to ask. I can explain as I go along. So here's the air survey results. I picked out three pertinent years, being 2014, 2023, and 2024. This is showing that there was a significant increase in the number of employers that we pulled from last year, but you can see that from 2014 there was a decrease. This was due to the consolidating down those companies into mergers for single companies for multi-site locations. You can also see the number of employees did increase by a significant margin, around a 9.79% increase, which is
Thomas,
actually
can
fairly.
you scroll, make it bigger? It's harder to see actual numbers. Sorry.
Oh, is it actually? Let's see.
Can you scroll, make it larger?
Let's see. I may have to actually open this up real quick. A moment.
If you control scroll, that will make it bigger.
Oh, perfect.
Should.
Da, da, da.
Zoom.
Yep. One moment. This just works as well.
That will work. There you
Great.
go.
Perfect.
There you go. Better.
Okay. Let's see. Looking here, some important parts to note is the increase in telework programs. Over the past 10 years, or the 10-year time, there was a 49% increase overall. which is wonderful. From the prior year, there was a slight decrease. It could be said that after 2020, with the substantial increase in telework programs, some companies are pulling back and trying to get people in office and trying not to offer the same telework that they have before. And more specifically, to look at the promotion of events that has been declining quite steadily over the past 10 years, as in from 10 years ago in 2014 to today, you can see an 85% decrease versus the last year, it's a 14% decrease. I actually have that visualized down here so that everyone get an idea of it. Promotion of events have been decreasing quite steadily. If anything, from the projected line here, it's quite spurious at times, given that some years it seems, especially around 2020 during COVID, there was much more communication of company event promotions like Earth Day, Take Public Transit to Work Day, and such as that. But in the past few years, it has been steadily decreasing. You can also then look at the communication of rights for information, such as companies providing information to their employees that, for example, transit is free, the possibility of rideshare promotions. You can see over the past 10 years, it has also been steadily decreasing from 2014 till today. And if you were to look at the trend line, it has a fairly high R squared value, that R squared value showing the fit of the data to the line projected, created by Excel, to where you can say, since it has an R squared value of 0.91, it's fairly accurate to believe that this trend could then continue, assuming there's no lower limit, which there likely is. And going back up again, we can then look at the companies offering telework programs that have been steadily increasing over the past 10 years, but just a slight dip in the past few years, which again could be a cause of companies trying to reel back in the promotions they offered during COVID times where telework was typically the only option available for them. And heading back up, we can also see the number of employees that have been surveyable by the AIR survey. And the TRP program has had a large jump from last year, which is great to see. Hopefully, it'll steadily increase as well. The R squared value being 0.54 in social sciences, an R squared value of 0.1 and above is considered significant, assuming that the related statistics are follow a normal distribution. But otherwise, big points to pull from this. We can definitely see that the increase in EV charging stations, it increased from 17% of companies offering it to 20%, which is a 16% increase overall, which is a great jump in only a year. And now let me see, I can jump into the more data heavy portion. This is just more report to give a quick shot of everything so far. So here we have the actual 10-year report over time. Here being highlighted in orange is the current year's numbers versus the prior 10 years where we draw this data from. And let's see here. Here we can see a year-to-year difference of the numbers over the past 10 years towards each other, just to get an idea of how things are changing on a year-to-year basis on rather than a percent difference change to an actual numeric percentile change. For example, when we look at the providing guaranteed ride homes, which if we no longer do, we had to remove that entirely simply because that's no longer a program offered. As you can see at the end here, not available. And here again, we have some more graphs. The ones with the projected line are the ones already seen. However, you can see this is a percent change model over the past 10 years to where you see year over year how it changed compared to where it was before. And the largest changes, 2019 to 2020, you had a 17% change in overall offering telework programs, which then dropped quite considerably in following years as it wasn't as necessary. Same thing with change in event promotions. A lot of these are assumably influenced by COVID, where companies had to make quick changes in order to still operate, given a telework approach environment for it. Otherwise, I believe that covers everything to present currently. Does anyone have any questions on any of this?
Anybody? I am seeing no hands. All right. Thank you, Thomas.
Karen?
Oh, Karen's
And
got
I
one.
know, I think I bring this up every every meeting, but seeing those charts really hit home of the reduction of even promotion of travel reduction information within companies. And is PAG ever going to get some resources so you can kind of jumpstart that and make it easier for people to promote, easier for companies to promote to their employees?
And Karen, I have to tell everybody that we did not pay you to say that right before Brad is about to talk, because that's part 3 of this meeting.
Oh, awesome. I'm
Yes.
encouraged.
So, yeah, she was not bonused, or gift cards were not sent to Karen at Pima County to ask that question. But it is something that we are aware of, and I use the phrase all the time, it's hard to get excited about something you don't understand. So Brad, you are queued up. This is perfect. Brad is with our PAG communications team, and he has some fun things relevant to that question to share with you.
Perfect. So any other questions before I close this out?
Nope.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, Brad, the floor is yours.
Okay, now I gotta get this going here. So, a few months ago, Mary tasked my team with trying to spruce up the assets that are available to you. And hopefully, if my screen sharing is going correctly, you see the old employer resources or the current employer resources page. And as Mary showed you earlier in the meeting, you're all familiar with the travel reduction program flyer, and it's nice. It's got the little computer or the little cartoon people, and it's got a lot of information, but it's a little dense in places. And we decided that we wanted to follow the trend of some of our other flyers that have made it a little more bullet point, as we like to say, a little more graphic, a little more pleasing to the eye. She also wanted to incorporate some pre-written materials that you could use. So being the team player, or should I say crazy person, I decided to take the lead from our award-winning, may I say, intranet, which we designed for our employees to be a one-stop shopping for basically all your employee needs. I said, why can't we do that with the TRP Employer Resources page? We have a lot of assets that we use in our flyers, in our newsletters, in our social media that just gets kind of lost once they're out there. And if you don't open the newsletter, and I don't know why you wouldn't, I mean, thrilling reading that I write 90% of, but you might lose these. Or if you came on late, you may not have seen those articles. Or frankly, things can get lost in the shuffle. While some of you are very completely dedicated to the cause of travel reductions, for some of you, this is something else you have to do in your work. So we wanted to make it easier. So, and I have to be able to figure out how to move this for a second. There we go. This is the draft, as you can see, a new transportation TRP Employer Resources page. And what we're calling the first section is our Transportation Coordinator Toolkit. It's essentially supposed to be a go-to destination for both new and established TCs. Hopefully everything you need to get started or to continue in your role as a travel coordinator should be included below. As you know, you can always reach out to Mary. She loves to help too. So what we have here is we redesigned the flyer. And again, this is a draft. It's not available yet, but it fits more in line with the aesthetic that some of our other flyers have. A little, ease of use, real quick read with basically all the same information. We go back. The ever handy dandy QR code flyer remains in this location as well. This would have the QR code, would have your company name, everything you need to allow your employees to fill out the survey on a smart device, whether it's a phone, tablet. The recognition levels remain, and then we added something new. Sometime back, we wrote a story, which was common questions TCs have, whether they're new or old. So we decided to turn it into a frequently asked questions section. So right now it still remains in story form from the newsletter, but it will be eventually turned into an infographic. And again, this is not only for you all to use, but to use to answer questions for your employee. Like, you know, why do we have to participate? Or why does the TRP exist? What are the thresholds and things like just the real basics that you probably know already, but sometimes it's just easier to have it written in front of you when you're trying to answer those questions. Then, and this is one of the new things, and again, will be look a lot nicer. But this is what we call the master email template list. We'll probably come up with a more clever name. And what it is, it's pre-written emails for you to use, whether it is to get your employees to introduce the survey, or as Mary mentioned, sometimes you are going to find a niche area in your organization. Maybe you have a lot of fitness conscious employees and you want to use the health benefits of the travel reduction program, whether that is to influence them to take the survey or to try out active transportation, walking and cycling, whether it's to use for transit. So it's broken down into different subject areas, and these will also have another home, which I will show you in a moment. But essentially, you can take these emails and adapt them to what you need. You can use them as is. All you have to do is plug in, your organization's password. In a few places, you will need to insert your organization name here, unless you like the generic one. And I don't know why you would. It's like sending that email that says to who it may concern, and hi, who it may concern. So adaptable. Everything is adaptable. While I have an ego about my writing, and maybe Mary does this too, we have no problem with you utilizing our materials in the way that is best for your organization, because you know your organization better than we ever can. And then
Brad,
yes,
can I jump in here?
absolutely.
For everybody on the call, the intention is that you are sending at least weekly, if not more frequent, during your survey period, you are sending out messages on why we want people to take their survey. When the final product is posted, it will be a place that you can go and access pre-written information that can say, this week I'm going to say it's because there are health benefits for alt modes. The next week I could say because transit is free or the cost of commuting, and the actual message is pre-written. So all the different facets of the TRP program can be presented in a pre-written emailable copy paste situation, so that you can identify different ways to communicate why TRP is important. So health, costs, air quality, active lifestyle, all of those different messages will be pre-written, so you can copy and paste, edit as you see fit, but then it allows you to have a broader communication platform for all of your workforce.
Yeah, and if I can show you on this document here, we have one that's about creating connections. We have one here that is the good of your community, both yours as an organization and the community as a whole. What the data is used for. If you have some very number-centric people, you can use the data for community planning, emissions offset for your people who are concerned about the environment, cost savings. A lot of your employees just want to know, hey, I can save money carpooling. I can save money, riding the bus. Tell me more, and I'll get to what other tools you can use. But these are all included, as Mary mentioned. They may be organized differently at the time. I wanted to make sure you were able to see them as we are very close to launching the new site. It will certainly be ready by the start of the fiscal year in July, and more than likely within the next few days, hopefully. And then once again, we have the travel reduction benefits flyer, which is one of the more popular ones. Again, this is the kind of older version of that flyer. I believe I have to find it again. Sorry, apologize. a newer version. Oh, this is the Better Health one. But again, they'll have a common look and feel. These are all draft flyers, so they may change slightly, but they're just a little more aesthetically pleasing in my opinion.
And they'll have a regional feel, and they are local pictures, and they have more of a office or professional, what would you call it, aesthetic to them.
Yeah, they're nice enough for corporate and easy enough to read for the employee who's going to glance at it for about 25 seconds.
Yes.
And then the final portion of the what I like to call the TC Toolkit is any story we have written within the last few years in our Sun Rideshare newsletter that are tips for travel coordinators. This, and as you can see, there's a list here. It might be formatted slightly different when we go live with the page, but everything from how to craft a telework policy to create happy, productive workers, get better survey participation. We talked to some of you all and got some great tips, whether it was using monitors or using some very low cost incentives that at one point the U of A was using. April holidays provide plenty of travel reduction opportunities. Again, to fit into those categories, there were some, especially in April, there were a lot of everything from Earth Day to Tax Day to everything in between that you can throw into an email, that you can throw into if you have an employee newsletter, if you have an employee, e-newsletter, something like that. So then moving down the page, we have what we're calling the emails and assets. And this is, as Mary explained, everything broken down by a category. This will not only include the emails that I showed you previously, just those emails, not a whole laundry list, but just the ones. And in fact, this one is for air quality and the environment. And you will get those email templates. And then you will get the stories that we have written regarding that. Like, so you can make your carpool even more environmentally friendly, or how to choose the best active transportation option for you, reduce idling. And that these open up a story that exists already on our website. And again, you can use this any way you want. Do you want to just copy and paste it and send it out as an email? Great. Do you want to take the highlights of it and include it in your employee newsletter? Great. Do you just want to link to it? Fantastic. But again, do you want to just turn these into bullet points? Fantastic. Turning off your engine and planning your routes, things like that. So again, my goal was, and Mary's goal was, and the team's goal was to make it as easy as possible. You don't have time to sift through 12 back issues of Sun Rideshare. If you do, fantastic. Would love for you to reread them. That means a lot to me since I wrote most of the content. But let's be honest, you're trying to find some things. And it may be something like maybe one of your employees comes up to you and says, hey, I know you're the travel coordinator. I really want to start cycling. Well, guess what? You scroll down, we have health benefits. Again, you find our flyers here. Hey, tips to start cycling on your commute. You can get them that article. Cycling advice for would-be commuters. Hey, maybe you've got someone who is an active cyclist and they mentioned the L Tour. Well, you could turn your training into L Tour into part of your commute. So there's, again, I don't want to just focus on cycling, but we have active transportation. We put the commute and telecommute, how to get exercise when you're a telecommuter, anything that might benefit your health conscious employees. And again, you can use that in conjunction with those emails, because again, we're going to have that pre-written, and there's a couple of them, I think, for the health benefits of active transportation, or even just rideshare, as there are some emotional and mental health benefits of less stress, of being able to read on your way to work if you're the passenger in a carpool or van pool, or if you are riding transit, things of that nature. And again, as Mary mentioned, many other categories, saving money, a little bit of some saving money tips. And this is where you also find one of, I think, the coolest features on the website, the commute cost calculator. If you're not familiar with this, you can actually help find out how much money your employees can save by using a carpool, or by skipping a day of travel in their car, is really what it comes down to. They plug in the information. They can even decide what kind of vehicle And you can find out that, hey, I might save a couple dollars a day. I might save hundreds of dollars a month, especially as transit does remain free at this time. There's some cost savings. So again, if your employees are motivated by money, by cost savings, maybe they don't care about the environment, they don't care about data planning, but they might want to know how much money they can save by cycling to work, or by taking the bus, or by carpooling. Again, you have a very close knit employee group, then maybe creating connections, building community, because again, carpooling, you meet people. Van pooling, you meet people, or you may already know them, but that extra 20-30 minutes in the vehicle can build those connections. Maybe you have several people who want to walk to work or cycle to work, and again, those will be live email templates that will be available when the page goes live. Maybe again, you have number driven people. There's what the data is used for, and we have an article there, what survey data is. And finally, then we have the existing assets that are already on the page. We have some posters and flyers, and some videos. Again, if you have video motivated people, you have a way to embed them in emails in your employee newsletter. We have a carpooling. We have a little bit with SunRideshare. We're going to add some of the assets for cyclists and bike riders, whether that's our bike boulevards, whether that's our hot crossings. Several of our RTA projects are also very applicable to people who use active transportation. So that's kind of where we're at. I do see a question. So if I believe it's Teresa has a question.
Yes, thank you so much, Brad. All the information that you and Mary have provided have been extremely helpful. But has there been any discussion about creating a video for the survey, why it's needed, and how to do it and where to go? Or has anybody here has done a video internally?
We have talked a little bit about it. We've just ramped up our video production. That's another thing that is kind of falls under my job descriptions. So it is something that we've discussed briefly, but it is something that frankly could probably, if there's enough demand for it, I'll let Mary know. That's something that she could request, and we could probably get done. I don't want to say fairly easily, but yeah. We do have if that is something that enough organizations feel would be useful, that is something we could probably create.
I have a clarifying question for that, because it seems like every message out there right now is a short video. How long of a video? Because a lot of people will click on something, whether it's a recipe or a how to do something. It's like how long do you think it should be? Less than 30 seconds?
Yes. I'm not a comms person, but I can work with our comms team to get more information, or even if we could do something internally, if it's an option for us. But yeah, 30 seconds or less, just because I'm still trying to get the hang of it. And I don't think we had the response we've had in previous years, this last year. And so I'm trying different ways. There's a lot of new employees. There's a lot of change. And we posted it on the weekly news letter. I posted a bunch of the flyers in the eating sitting areas. And it's like I had to stand by certain colleagues for them, stand right next to them for them to fill it out. And so I'm not saying that applies for everyone, but it seems like it was harder for them to sit down and read it. And it may be because it's really busy all the time and there's a lot going on. But just a thought, I don't know if it would be something worth trying.
Maybe we have to do the Irvington site on the day of that company barbecue.
The barbecue already took place.
I know, but I'm saying next year, you got to plan for the same day.
Right. Maybe I had to just promote it longer, but then it doesn't help because then the survey is not live yet. So it kind of just trying to find all that balance. And so
I know a few people that work at TEP, and that company barbecue is like the annual event. That's why.
Yeah, we have an annual employee appreciation barbecue, and it happened a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah, let's look at the video. I do agree that it has to be short so they can just click on it and, because everybody's attention span seems to be less than 30 seconds. So. Good idea. I wrote it down.
And does anyone else from other companies have a similar, is it just me? Do you have any best practices? Just a thought.
Um,
Go ahead, Bonnie.
well, actually, I think it's really important. I mean, it sounds to me like you're on site. Whereas what I did was I'm in Southern California and I flew out to the site to kind of have that one-on-one with some of the associates out there. And that seemed to really work because then you put a face with the name, with the email, and you know, and how are they going to say no to me face to face, right?
And Bonnie is speaking and she is with Amazon Logistics.
Yep. That's right. So sometimes that one-on-one means everything. And what you were saying is having to sit next to them. Sometimes they need that. And I mean, not in a bad way either, but to know that you find this to be so important. So then therefore they should find it to be so important as well.
Thank you. And it's impossible for me to sit next to like over almost 2,000 employees, but maybe what I can do is target the directors.
Yes.
Attend those middle management meetings.
Right.
Have them compete against each other. But we can
There
talk
you go.
more about that. And Amanda, I know you're on the call. If anybody in Maricopa, if you've seen something similar, you can share with us. Because another point to be made is the Maricopa TRP program is managed by the Maricopa Air Quality Group. They have a large army up there, but we all know that Phoenix is a different place. Their rules of engagement and what they are required to do in Maricopa is 2 times, 3 times more than what we're doing here in the PAG region. They have over 1,200 employers. Their threshold is 50 employees or greater. And their county attorney will levy $300 a day fines if they do not meet their metrics. So for everybody who's a TC on this call and listening, you know, we want to be compliant. We want our employers to understand what the benefits of this program is. And when you think about Maricopa County, I mean, you will get 60% response rate within 30 days, or you will start receiving a $300 a day fine. You know, they have much more severe consequences. Bonnie, I think that's you. It says Cassandra, but you had a
Hi.
question?
This is from Seracom.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries. I was wondering if you could also add resources about safety. So I'm looking at all the resources, and yes, we have like the codes, all of that, like how biking is great, but can we also add things about safety? Like how to safely ride the bus? I wasn't looking at that. I'm not sure if you do have one. If you do, would you please send us that as well?
Yeah, and I'll have to double check to make sure it was still live because we had some stories that went offline. But I know we did a story on how to, you know, obviously a lot of safety things about cycling, and a lot of safety things about carpooling. Those are usually not, it's not a separate safety section. It's in the type of, how would you say, method of transportation. And I actually didn't see our carpool one, so I may need to look at that. We also, I know we did one on how to safely ride the bus in the summer to avoid the heat, but I don't think we've necessarily done one on like normal safety tips for transit. So that is something that we can keep in mind for future Sunrise Share newsletters. Again, if you ever have a topic you want, shoot it to Mary. She'll get it to me because we're always looking. Obviously, this is a newsletter for TCs and for their organizations. So we want to write what you want to read. You know, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert I'm an old newspaper reporter, so we want you to utilize these tools. They're no good if you don't want them. So certainly let us know. But I can tell you, I know several of the stories in our carpool was how to be safe in your carpool. How to vet other riders, how to not distract the driver, things like that. And I know most of our cycling stories where it's a beginner's how to certainly talk about how to safely use mapping tools to avoid traffic, how to, obviously helmets and reflectors and bright clothing and things like that. I think we even have one on hot temperatures as well. So we can, certainly if there's something you need, let Mary know and I can compile them. If not, like I said, we'll figure out how to best organize them on this page and you can find them yourself, hopefully quickly. And if it's not quickly, then we need to make this a better use for your time, because we want you to come in, come out, get what you need, and be able to go.
We do a lot about bike safety though, so we can link up with, I mean, it's a different division, it's outside of TRP, but it's absolutely complementary. So we do bike light distribution. We've shared a lot of those with Pima County when they have events. We have a bike map, which also has links to bike safety. So thanks for the call up. Yeah, it's a good point, especially there's been a lot of chatter about with fare-free transit and how it changes the dynamic. Amanda, you had your hand up for a question.
Well, yes, Mary. Good morning, everybody. I actually the time may have passed for my thoughts, but I did want to mention that I think this has been a fantastic meeting today. And Mary talked a little bit about Maricopa County and how things are a little bit different up here. But I want to mention that programs like PAGS and specifically PAGS, I can see the impact that some of these creative ideas are having throughout the state and how we learn to run things in a little bit more business friendly and efficient manner. And I just wanted to commend the whole team, let you know that you're doing a great job. And I think what hits me the most is that I understand that everyone here gets this is not just about transportation. This is about air quality. This is a public health issue, and it's extremely important to everyone. And so I wanted to thank you again for all of this and for serving as an example for the rest of us. So, thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Amanda. It takes a village, that's for sure. So we've got Brad and our Chris, who does our website and communications team, and Thomas put icing all over the air survey summary this year. He did all those calculations and sent them to me, and I was like, wow, that's way more than last year. Excellent. So that trend is going in the right direction in a positive way. So all right, we want to be mindful of everybody's time. It is exactly 11 o'clock. How perfect is that? Any other questions or comments? And then we'll let you enjoy the rest of your day. Nope, nothing? Okay. Well, we thank you very much. We thank you for the investment of time. We are always available, both Thomas, myself. If you have questions, send us an email. And if we can be of service to you, or you have questions about how to make your TRP survey more successful, we got a handful of people out there with air surveys we still have to chase down, which we will. And until next time, our next meeting will be in November. Stay cool, hydrate, and enjoy your summer. And it's supposed to rain on Thursday, we hope. Have a great
well.
rest of your day.
Thanks, Mary, Thomas, and Brad.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.